Okay, so first of all, I want to introduce you all to our guest speaker today. Her name is Miss Flora Outlaw, and she's going to do an interview with us for our Black History Month Spotlight. So I'll just start off by saying thank you so much on behalf of the ARSC Equal Opportunity Advisement Team of Lieutenant Colonel Nelson and myself, Master Sergeant Sampson. And I just want you to be able to tell your story and share your experiences with us. So first, why not start off by just telling us who you are?
I'm Flora Cox Outlaw. I'm the oldest of 12 children. My mother is Thelma, and my father is Willoughby Cox. Thelma and Willoughby Cox. I'm their oldest daughter. And in that union of me being the oldest of the 12 children, there are 5 girls and 7 boys.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. So I remember in our conversation, you were telling me that you were born on a plantation and you lived on a plantation. So give us a little bit of insight of what that was about or what that was like.
I was born in Clay County, but also on a plantation. But I don't remember those years like I do the later years. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with when I lived on the Lenore plantation.
Okay.
It was like being the oldest of 12 children. I had a lot of chores to do. First of all, I had to get up and milk the cow and drive the truck big truck while my daddy threw the hay off. I had to be up early, sunrise, early. Mm-hmm. Being a girl, I had to do all of that. Bring in the stove wood because we didn't have indoor plumbing or heat. We had to cut wood for the heat.
Wow. That's awesome. That's a lot. So you had to do all of this before you went to school?
Oh, okay. Yes, before I went to school. But we had to do all of that before I went to school. Started first grade at this little school called Alberts in Clay County. Then from there, I went to Southside in West Point.
Okay.
And then as I got older, going into the 9th grade, we moved to the Lenore Plantation where I went to Shivers School.
Okay. Right. Now, was Shivers like the high school?
Shivers was the high school before integration.
Okay.
It was the high school before integration. But in 69 and 70, where there was mandatory integration, my class was the first class to graduate there in 1970, the integrated class.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So, and was that, so once you went to the high school, how many years did you have to go there?
I only went one.
Okay.
I was a senior when I went there. I went 9th, 10th, and 11th grade at Shivers.
Okay.
Then we had to go to the high school because that was my senior year. That was the year I graduated, 1970.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So I know that now you are an entrepreneur. Was that something that you decided you wanted to be later on in life, or did you know early in life that that's what you wanted to be?
Early in life, I probably didn't know that's what it was and didn't even know that was what it was called early in life. But as a little girl growing up, I would go and visit my grandparents. They lived in Trivolock, Mississippi, which is Chickasaw County. Well, I was the oldest grandchild too, because my mother was an only child. She has one brother that the same age, my second sister, Dorothy. And so, knowing now, my grandmother and my great-grandmother was entrepreneurs.
Wow.
So, that seems strange, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, what they did was sold candy.
Mm.
Sold candy. The candy man would come to the house and they would bring them boxes of candy. They would sell the candy to the children in the neighborhood.
Okay.
But they didn't get money for selling the candy. They got premiums like bedspreads and tablecloths and dishes and things like that. But and that's how they kept all the nice curtains and all the hot towels and all the stuff nice in the house. They would do that. They would sell the candy to get premiums.
Wow.
So so that started with an early age with me. And then my grandmother always would let me look in this catalog called National Bell and Hess catalog, kind of like a big Sears catalog book.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always let me pick out a dress or something out of the catalog. And that was where I probably got started into liking cute clothes and wanted to have my own dress shop. But I really I didn't know it then.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking back over it, that was where I really got started. And doing all that, growing up, I made my clothes. Everything I wore, I made it. I could sew, I could make it. I made even made my wedding dress, jumping forward a little bit. But as a little girl growing up, Mama they bought flour in these big old cotton sacks, and they was like flour sacks, that we call them flour sacks. But she made my sister and I skirts out of the flour sacks. She made us skirts out of the flour sacks, and she also made pillowcases out of the flour sacks. They had a border on them, and they was really cute skirts. So from that, I learned how to sew from my mama. And then I took home economics when I was in junior high too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that is awesome. That is amazing. So when you lived like on the plantation, was it owned like by African Americans, or who owned the plantation?
White Americans owned it.
Okay.
It was not Black Americans. Black Americans lived on the plantation. There were just little rows of houses, plantation houses where we lived.
Okay.
They lived in the big mansion, the big house. That's what we call it, the big house back then.
So you never lived in the big house?
No, I would get to go up to the house sometime on Saturday morning, when we didn't have to go to the field to pick the cotton,
mm-hmm.
to pick off peanuts.
Okay.
That's what we did on Saturday morning a lot of times during that season when they would come in.
Okay. And so it was, how many of your siblings actually were at the plantation with you before you all moved?
10.
Okay.
It was, I grew up with 10, even though I'm the oldest of 12. But my mother so at 18, I got married and moved out. Then I have 2 children. And my mother I have 2 sisters younger than my 2 children.
Wow. So they believed in raising big families back then, huh?
Well, that was the thing. They had to raise big families to get those crops in.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not that I'm bitter because I lived on the plantation. Not bitter at all. At least it was somewhere that we could went out in the cold like homeless people are now.
Right.
And we were poor, but guess what? We didn't know we were poor.
Right.
We didn't know we was poor. We always was making up stuff, even if it was nothing but sit on the floor and start laughing. And my dad, and whoever bust out with the laughing, he'd have told us to be quiet over there. Somebody was gonna get a whipping. We just made our own games up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not bitter at all. And I thank the Lord that I really thank the Lord that I had to go through that, because it made me the person that I am today.
Okay.
Like stronger, knowing that without hard work, you can't accomplish anything. So you can, even though I just have a high school education, barely got that, but God give all of us gifts,
mm-hmm.
and we should learn how to utilize them.
That's right.
And if you work hard, you can make it.
Awesome. That's good advice. So tell us about the person that, speaking of the person that you are today, tell us about the person that you are today.
Well, when I graduated from high school, I went to work at a garment plant. And I learned how to do everything in the garment plant. But then I wasn't there but a short while because I got fired. I always I got fired for getting into somebody else's business. And then I'm gonna just leave it there. But when I got fired, these people asked me to come to work for them at Lasky's.
Okay.
And that's how I got into sales. And I went to work for them. I worked at a couple of shops before I got my own shop. In fact, I worked for this little department store, more or less department/boutique, for 20 years. Got all the training, got to go to market, got to go and do a lot of things.
And that was at Lasky's?
That was at Lasky's.
Okay, and Lasky's was a department store?
It was like a department store. And I would go to Atlanta to market, go to Memphis to market, and I knew that was my call, and I loved it. And so when I worked there about 20 years, then I went off and I decided after I had worked there 5 or 6 years, I just knew I wanted my own shop. But, I didn't have enough faith, I guess, to just step out on that early. And I probably needed more experience. And I finally stepped out on faith. And I decided I would open my shop. And I did.
Okay.
Working hard, persevering, never missed a day. Work harder for myself than I did for the other person. And you really got to do that.
That's true.
You really got to do that. And I would psych myself and say, because if you working hard and you like what you're doing, it's really not work.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoying what you're doing, you don't get tired of it. And I'm 70 plus years old and still going strong and loving it. And then my little, and I had gotten kind of lack in it, I guess a little bit, I don't know what it was. And then my grandbabies came along.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 3 little girls. Mm-hmm. My grandbabies, 3 little girls. Triplets, girls. And it just gave me an inspiration to work harder in the clothing business. Girls like to dress up. I sell dresses. I sell clothing. Mm-hmm. So, and they don't even like shopping. But I wanted to just be able to do this so I could kind of leave them a legacy. Mm-hmm. That's what I really wanted to do. So, and then last year in 2023, I really got elevated. I got this award, and it said 2023 Main Street Merchant of the Year, Flora Outlaw, Aberdeen Main Street, Mississippi Main Street Association. I went to Jackson and I got this award. And because I did an article in the paper, did an article in the paper about my shop. Because I bought my shop. I rented my shop for 30 years. And I probably couldn't afford to buy it when I went in, so I rented it. And I never thought about buying it because I just know they didn't want to sell it. Mm-hmm. Well, rumor kind of got out that they was going to sell all the buildings they had downtown, the people that own them. And so finally, one day, the young man walked in my shop and he said, "Miss Flora, you've been renting for us a long time. So, but we're going to sell the business, sell the stores, sell several stores. And since you in it, you get first choice at the buy." So I told him, and I knew I was going to buy it, but you know how you being a salesperson. I said, well, let me go I got to talk to my husband about it. And I had already knew exactly what I was going to do. But then, and I called him the next day and told him I would buy the building. So I became the first black person, woman especially, to own a building in that part of Aradale, Mississippi.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Well, definitely, so proud of your accomplishments, and looking at the adversities that you had in the beginning and, growing up, and it's just history in the making, so much history. And you're right here, you're local in Mississippi, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to share like the information about people that are, proximal, close and proximal to us, that we have history, right here amongst us in places like Mississippi and Alabama. So we definitely want to just thank you and for taking out your time to allow us to come into your home and to hear your story and to share the Flora Cox Outlaw story, so that others can hear and see the accomplishments and know that they can do and be anything. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome.